As you probably know, here on 207 this spring, we're talking with all the candidates who are running for major office and are in contested races on the June primary ballot. With us here on 207 is one of the Democrats who hopes to be his party's nominee for the U.S. Senate, David Costello. Thanks for coming in. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
Why are you running for the U.S. Senate nomination?
Well, as you probably recall, I ran in 2024 because I thought Washington is broken. You can imagine what I think today with all that's gone on with the Trump administration. So that's really why I'm running, to help end the chaos, the reckless assault on our democracy, environment, and economy.
Let's talk a little bit about the specific race, since it has changed dramatically in just the last few days. Started out as a three-way contest. You, Janet Mills, Graham Plattner. Governor Mills dropped out, kind of a political earthquake. That leaves you and Graham Plattner in the race. Now, if Janet Mills, twice elected governor of Maine, could not see a path to winning the nomination, what path do you see for yourself?
Well, it's certainly a challenging path, but I believe that given my background, my working class background and extensive public service experience, and also that I've got a substantive and have had a substantive change agenda for a number of years, decades, I think I have a different path than the governor had.
Those are all valid points, but it still raises the question, if people want to send a Democrat to the Senate next year, are you really the guy who can win?
Well, I think I can. I think I think I draw the sharpest contrast. My background and experience draws the sharpest contrast with that of Senator Collins.
Let's talk a little bit about what you started with, and that is that Washington is broken. There would certainly be a lot of agreement on that point. What specifically can be done to change the culture in Washington and make Congress work better?
Well, I think we've got to restructure Congress to some degree, and as you can imagine, it would take time. The easy stuff would be to end gerrymandering, take money out of politics, those kinds of things. The harder stuff is going to take longer. Term limits for Supreme Court justices or federal judiciary, as well as Congress, would help, as well as making Congress more proportional. Then we'd have a much more dynamic, accountable Congress, responsive Congress, where we could get a lot of policies that have been popular over the years, like Medicare for All, universal child care, universal paid medical and family leave, pulling back some tax cuts for the wealthy to help balance the budget, as well as to fund popular programs. So a lot can happen, but we need to put reforms in place to make it happen.
The challenges are enormous, which is part of what makes it so frustrating that Congress is not addressing them. One that is not being addressed is Social Security. The trustees of the Social Security system say it's going to go broke in about 6 or 7 years, not going to have enough money to meet its obligations. That means that either the retirement age has to be raised, benefits have to be cut, or taxes have to be raised. What choice would you choose?
I would remove the cap, the employment tax cap. And by doing that, we'd address the solvency issue, and we also have enough revenue in the trust fund to pay for expanded benefits to low-income seniors.
Medicare for All is one of the priorities that you have campaigned on. We already have a hugely expensive Medicare system that continues to grow dramatically each year and is really sucking up tremendous amounts of federal dollars. How would you pay for a system that's even bigger?
Well, again, I think if we roll back the Bush as well as the Trump tax cuts, and we take a look at the funding pool, as you can imagine, if you've got Medicare for All, you've got a much more expansive pool of people paying in more conceivably, as well as doing away with some of the payments they give out to private insurance companies now as they move in. So I think there's revenue to be had, but you're absolutely right. But ultimately, it's a much more comprehensive and cost-effective system, and also it's better for our economy.
The question of how to pay for health care is just part of the federal spending mess. The U.S. government spends far more than it takes in, federal debt now reaching unprecedented levels. Where would you start to address America's spending problem? Would you do it by cutting spending, raising taxes, or a combination of the two?
Well, I would raise revenue, although, as you know, that'd be raising taxes. And again, those that have benefited the most of the last 30 years are the wealthy and ultra-wealthy. They've received tremendous tax cuts. We need to roll or rescind most of those, and by doing so, we'd have enough revenue. Plus, we'd grow the economy much more expansively in doing that.
All right. We're going to have to leave it there. David Costello,
all right, Rob.
Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Thanks for coming in. We
Thank
appreciate you being here. If you'd like to know more about the candidate and his campaign, just head to the 207 section of our News Center Maine app or website. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.